Chat, here we go. It's Nass versus Chronic, a cheeky late show match before Nass heads back to EU. And it's going to be a best of 7 since this is a matchup we're going to rarely get on similar ping, or maybe we won't get it rarely. You know, maybe Nass will be right back for next split. I think he maybe has to. People were talking about how once you pick a regional or pick a region to play and you have to play in that region no matter what. Nass, is he going to score with a pogo right away? He's doing it for me. He's doing it for the fans. He's doing it for the chat. A little 50 with the back of his car, falling to the ground, pogo shot, a little crossbar down and in too. A little crossbar down and in to make it perfect for you. And Nass will take the lead. We were just talking about Nass's results before this series started. Nass is farming most of North America. Most of the players he's played since he made it to North America, he's been farming. He played 2 cross-server matches before he came here against Daniel and Diaz, and he did lose both of those. He has only rematched Diaz, and that's actually his one loss. So Diaz seems to be a pest for him. Everybody else, you know, from the North American Salt Mine, from the top ones players, he has handled with ease. And he's trying to get another victim here in Chronic. I don't know if that's the way it's going to go. Chronic has actually played against Nass's teammate Joyas. If you're wondering about his recent matches, we checked them out as well. He played in the Salt Mine, had a rough finish to the Salt Mine. But his show matches outside the Salt Mine are actually only one. The one against Joyas that happened, I think, sometime last week on the channel. And he was able to just barely run away with that one. He had also one of the most exciting plays and most exciting pogo plays, because we know how much we love pogos here on this channel. And it was actually a pogo demo dodge. So if you guys didn't see that, I think it's up as like a short on the YouTube. So definitely go check that out. If not, check out the whole series, because it's a very good series between Chronic and Joyas. And now he's trying to get 2 out of 2 of the matey transfers. Can he do it, or will Nass be too much? I would expect that chat would have heavily favored Nass. I think I would have had Nass as the favorite in this matchup as well. Probably somewhere around a 4-1 or 4-2 based on the way he's been handling his other opponents. But you never really know. Chronic has a very high peak, a very high pop-off potential, and this is one of the reasons why he is maybe the best player. He's certainly within the conversation of attacking and wall-to-air dribbles in these 1v1 situations. And this fake gets Nass in the air, and he gets his first goal of this game, number 1. Nass gonna farm a kickoff. Kickoffs, of course, incredibly important in any matchup. Both these guys going for the mirrored wave dash kickoff. Nass keeping his a little bit lower. You'll see players trying to get slightly on the underside of the ball, almost have the 50 push them back down to the ground. You don't want to get over the center mass where you get popped up, which Chronic kind of did. Chronic, I mean, he is popping off though. And he just barely wasn't able to get the crossbar down. I think what was a triple reset shot, which is just light work for Chronic. It truly is just a walk in the park to get as many resets as you could possibly want. Right now, tried to get a wave dash 50 and get the boost steal, and it almost cost him a goal. I'm actually surprised Chronic went for a clean save on the back wall there. Those saves in which players have time... Oh, nice save by Nass. The save in which players have time to really set up the angle. Nowadays in ones, almost nobody's sending those to the back wall. They're trying to snipe them off of their post in order to get a bounce directly out midfield instead of into the possession of the opposition. And maybe Chronic did try and go for that. Maybe he just missed it and hit back wall, but definitely something that most players are doing now. Nass eventually going to gain possession and convert for a 4-1 lead. Chronic. Air dribble resets. This is where he wants to work from. Nass seems willing to react, which normally a dangerous game against Chronic. And to be fair, this is how Nass started his series against Diaz, a guy who's also very talented. And actually not sidewall to air dribbles, but back wall to air dribbles. Diaz seems to prefer them, take the ball to the back wall, go the whole distance of the field. And I think at the beginning, Nass was trying to just react defensively, and that's really tough to do. I mean, it's only going to work for so long before Diaz breaks you down. I think the same thing will happen here with Chronic. If he continues to try and just shadow, it might work at first, but Chronic will get a read on what Nass is doing, and he will start to win those wall-to-air dribble situations. Nass will have to go rise to meet him in the air before long. But for now, Nass probably doesn't feel like he needs to change much of anything. He's up 5-1 with a minute 30. As he backs off on Chronic's clear. Not going to take the wall to air dribble. We'll chip it off the side wall to play it midfield, and very lackluster ground to air dribble as Chronic feels the pressure of Nass within a flip's distance from the ball. That's why he got that single jump touch as a way to try and keep Nass away. Nass is going to get scored on here as he fell far away from the ball, didn't protect it, and didn't make contact to finish the shot. So 50 seconds for Chronic to try and farm a couple quick goals. An air to ground dribble. That is true. A lot of these ground to airs, I guess, are technically ground to ground, as Home V owners landing far from the net nowadays with those wave dash shots or just bouncing back up in the air. And now Nass has the ball in the orange half off this kickoff. That's basically all he needs. Chronic going to the ceiling and back up into the air for a bump again. Nass gets around it. Nass has had a couple amazing saves, and Chronic is even going to give him a nod for it. He says, what a save. I thought I had you on that air dribble bump, basically. And I'm blown away you found a way around it. Now Demo will secure game number 1. So we're going to do a best of 7. Best of 7 here in this series to really get a full test of what Nass and Chronic look like. Nass, he's just showing off here in the final moments. The reset musty to make it a 4-goal game. He doesn't want anybody to think that it was a close one between him and Chronic here early. Do you think M80 stick together for next split? Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they would switch it up, personally. Someone also pointed out that you once you pick a region in their LCS, I think the rules are you have to stay in that region the whole season. So, if anything, it'd be all of them going to different North American teams, but I don't know why they would do that. I wouldn't recommend it, but I don't claim to know what goes on behind the scenes. Game 2, it is not just for the split only. It is the entire season. I know it was the entire season because everybody was making a big deal about it, specifically with the European players who were electing to play Sub-Saharan Africa, because everyone was saying, oh, if you try and make the major from Sub-Saharan Africa, you have to do that the whole season. You can't switch back to any other region. Nass here again playing a pretty passive style against Chronic's wall to air dribble. If Chronic's going to get clean possessions off kickoffs into a wall to air dribble, it's a nightmare situation to defend him passively in net. So I can't imagine that'll be what Nass does every time. Now, in his defense, when you do lose that kickoff, you pretty much are forced to play passively. You can't get boost and get up in time for it to be effective. Chronic, low 50. And he's got himself a 2-0 lead. Not your regular standard low 50 you see other players play. This is the Chronic version of a low 50, where actually kind of bumped Nass. It wasn't even really much of a 50. Nass hit the ball back into him, and then he got the ball and Nass scored them both. Nass reset near the net. Chronic does elect to wait on the goal line. Oh, he couldn't get the save. I think the front of it wheels maybe fell off the back wall earlier than he wanted them to, and then he wasn't able to adjust to that. He tried to maybe hit the brakes. Oh yeah, he just felt awkward there. You always wonder why the top 1v1 players don't play ranked. They do. A lot of 1v1 players do. I think both these guys are probably in the top 100. I think Chronic very high. I think Nass like 1 or 2. Probably 2 because Moxie's probably number 1. So these guys definitely do. But it's really hard to find games. The biggest reason why I think some top 1s players don't do it is because you have to sit in queue for a very long time. Chronic delayed that flip to flick the ball, put it top shelf, but Nass didn't have to save. Little camera checks from him to see what he's dealing with here in the corner. Nass wall to air dribble, specifically trying to keep it far away from the back wall. Chronic trying to defend on 22 boost. You could tell he didn't have a ton, because if he did, I think he goes out to try and meet Nass earlier. Instead, he's forced to try and react here on this goal line. Credit to Nass. Kept the ball away from the back wall, made it impossible for Chronic to close that distance until he took the shot. And then he put a ton of extra power on it to finish the top shelf far away from the back wall where Chronic can have his wheels glued to the wall. So he did everything right as Nass goes to the ceiling. Chronic is going to own goal. Chronic tried to pre-jump Nass. Nass tried to go over the top of him to the ceiling and get a double. And Chronic says, don't worry, I got you, bud. I got your double. Don't you worry about scoring that double yourself. I will finish it off for you. Of course, I think what Chronic's trying to do is he's trying to get back to the ball and double it off target because he's expecting Nass to double it on target. So he feels like he can't just leave it, and instead he just own goals it. And Nass will take the lead in game number 2, his first lead. But after game number 1, it feels like it's almost a foregone conclusion that Nass will hold on to it because he held on to it easily. This is a good sign for Chronic. Nass just giving him a freebie, really going for an extremely juicy highlight that did not work out. Wave dash kickoff for Nass. Not going to be enough, though. He fell so far away from the direction of the ball. He's just going to have to use that dash to go back. Chronic, a little slight delay dribble. Great bump. Nass tried to pre-jump him. And this slowdown by Chronic is not easy to do. And it's exactly what he has to do in order to make sure Nass is not in the right position. And then able to just bump him into the net. Another double score for Chronic, both Nass and the ball. Another wave dash kickoff that actually doesn't work out for Nass in terms of getting first possession because Chronic is flipping it to the left and landing so far ahead of him. Chronic wall to air dribble. His bread and butter. Tried to take it down for the low 50 around the net. Couldn't guide this off target at the midfield, but it didn't matter. Nass couldn't get anything out of it. Now Chronic will send one to the ceiling. Nass recovers, and so a dribble of his own, most likely. Right around ceiling height. Chronic goes to ceiling height to stop him. Nass, a little double off the ground. It's on target. It's in. Nass, not phased by Chronic moving high on the defense. He gets the exact shot he needs to counter it. Chronic, I don't think he's wrong to go back down to the ground when he sees Nass reading his play, but Nass just one step ahead. Chronic on the kickoff. Single jump early to try and get Nass in the air. And then his hope is that he can use his flip late on a favorable 50-50. Because if he can get Nass to jump early, a good chance he will not get a solid challenge when it comes time to try and win the 50. That's just not the way it worked out. Nass, who has done some heroics on the goal line in the process of taking down most every North American. In fact, you could argue every since he's been here, since Diaz is South American. And he has not rematched Daniel, so who knows whether or not he can handle him. Chronic missed the midfield boost. Big courtesy of him to leave it for Nass. With a minute 30 left to go, Nass going to have a tough time finding a way to score this one. So he does just let the ball bounce off the back wall, and he actually might be out of position. Has to double jump here. Just barely get the save. He should be getting his boost stolen. So he'll work on pads. Can Chronic find a way to keep Nass in? No, Nass will at least grab the 100. Great play by Chronic. He doesn't shoot this early. If he gets possession here and shoots early, it plays right into Nass's hand. He'll grab boost and save it in stride. Instead, he swings wide, throwing off Nass's timing. So Nass has a choice. He either hits the brakes and comes to a complete stop, which very often gets you scored on, or he tries to turn in and challenge and keep his momentum, which is what he did decide, but really both answers probably not going to be able to stop Chronic's hook shot. So credit to Chronic for playing that at perfect pace and giving himself a lead as he dodges Nass. As he tries to demo him in the back corner. Chronic not going to elect to go up the sidewall, and he gets Nass in the air. He's been trying to be the puppeteer in terms of Nass shadowing on defense. He's trying to get him up in the air. He's trying to counter him once he does. Credit to Nass for doing a decent job of never being out of position. Chronic goes to the ceiling, back down, makes the save. The pre-jump from Chronic does not go punished. And that is how ones has evolved recently, but the 50 pinch is going to go straight in his net. He did not respect Nass's dribble. If he did, I think he would have gotten out a little bit ahead. I mean, just credit to Nass, who instead of shooting it, actually played for the 50. You could tell clearly, dropped it to Chronic and then got ahead of the ball, so that any Chronic touch just head back into him and then into the net. Nass, got to give him Massive props for that tying goal. Chronic will deny on this kickoff possession that went to Nass. He's got 20 boosts to work with. He lost that dribble off the front of his car. No choice but to early flick, which is not a terrible choice. But it will lead to overtime in game number 2. That's Chronic again going standard kickoff to Nass's wave dash. This time a little bit more favorable for Nass. Nass likes to go get boost. And he does make it pay off by demoing Chronic. And now he'll start a full field dribble. Chronic respawning in that back corner. Nass did not have a flip to use, or maybe didn't decide to use it. Either way, Chronic able to get that save in the bottom right. He wants to go air dribble bump. He's done it a million times. Nass, how did he make the save? Did he phase through Chronic? Am I crazy? I don't understand. Oh, he went to the right side of Chronic. I mean, from Chronic's POV, he's got to be pissed. From his camera angle, that seemed impossible to get the save. But it looks like basically Chronic was slightly ahead of it, and Nass went behind him. What a save and what a win. Nass takes the 2-0 series lead. Game number 3, a tough game to lose if you're Chronic, who was leading most of the game before Nass tied it up, I think with under 20 seconds left to go, and then was able to win. Nass can't save this one. And this is what Chronic has been trying to do a ton. He gave himself a nice one, but this is one of the first times Chronic's really been able to convert on it. I think he had at least one other time. He sees Nass playing very defensively. And what I mean by that is he's not turning and challenging Chronic almost ever. He's looking to shadow and he's looking to react. And, you know, you're very susceptible to getting faked and getting flown out to no man's land when you do that. Chronic has just continued to try and, you know, get as many positions like that as possible. Nass, look at this double. Nass, a just casual double as Chronic heads to the back wall. He just puts it at the top of the arena. Chronic cannot intercept. And then he doubles it in to tie the game. My title says something like Nass before Nass leaves, right? Did I say that? It's clear that people are not fully understanding what that means. But I'm not sure if we should just keep it there, because obviously it's baiting people wonderfully, or if I just need to explain every 5 seconds that Nass was heading back to EU no matter what. Chronic just owned gold again. Orange trail. As I'm trying to see what happened here. Oh, Nass. Nass is a mastermind. Just tapped it slightly towards the net, which changed Chronic's angle from being a clear across the net to in the net. And then he just handed one to Nass for free. So 3-1 for Nass. Keep it and don't explain. Just say Nass is leaving right now for whatever reason you want to make up. Chronic starting this dribble directly underneath the ball. Lost sight of Nass, but it didn't seem to matter. The control from Chronic is always something special. But this is, you know, a benefit of Nass playing so passively. He only wants to make saves on the goal line. And so there's a moment in time where Chronic can't see Nass, doesn't seem to have full control of the ball. He's directly underneath the ball, but it doesn't matter. Nass has made his choice. He's going to defend, shadow, and wait until the shot. That allows Chronic to be able to regain that dribble and eventually convert it for a goal. And it's really, you know, hard to blame Nass, because I said he's going to have a tough time playing Chronic this way. Yet he is up 2-0, so why change it if you haven't lost the game yet? Chronic not going to be able to get up to this one as Nass booms it to the back wall. And Chronic, and he was always going to be in trouble. He could have stayed in midfield and maybe gotten a 50 there, but it was such a bad position afterwards. Chronic wants a kickoff goal and gets it. Great power. This is not a guarantee if he doesn't get 107 km/h on this and keep it in the air, which is exactly what he did. Nass double resets as Chronic floats on the other side of the ball. From Nass POV, hard to see what Chronic's doing. And Chronic, he He's going to go to the ceiling, back the other way. Decided to fall quickly. Can always be tough to protect the ball when falling off the ceiling, and really do that spectacular of a job here. Will he be able to get his own boost? He will. Falling just in front of Nass. He has the 100. Nass has the midfield 100. Chronic has loved his air dribble bumps, and he knows Nass has been going over the top of him, so he goes extra high this time, but he's not going to be able to get it saved. Did Nass reset on the back wall? Or he's not going to be able to prevent a save. It's just too slow. Oh, nice fake. Chronic, he's going to keep going to this, and it seems to be the answer. He's got himself a tie game right now, as Nass elects to try and stop this flick that never comes. Chronic on the kickoff, placed in one top right. Now we'll be able to get to his favorite position. The difference is Nass will be a little bit more sped up than when it happens off kickoff, so he can challenge early like this, and he elects to do so. Chronic does not want to allow Nass to dribble, so he's going to go pinch it off of the wall, use a little bit of boost to do so. In fact, he's going to be able to steal the back corner from Nass, who clears this ball all the way to the orange half. He was in a tough position if he didn't do so. He's going to be low on boost, defending a full boost Chronic. Oh, that boost just barely didn't spawn for Chronic, which means not only does he not get it, but Nass does. And Nass will fake him right back. Sets up what looks like a wave dash shot here. Or it really is a wave dash shot, but not at the pace that Chronic was expecting. Nass gonna bump Chronic, get himself a 6th goal. He'll let it slow roll. Waste a few more extra seconds. Chronic 50 in with Nass. Nass, look at the speed flipping through this boost. I mean, they didn't need to go this quick. You could tell he was rushed. I'm trying to... Oh, Chronic. Yeah, he maybe needed to if Chronic didn't give the frustration stop there. You could tell he did not try and recover as quick as possible, but even then, he was going to be in a pretty tough position. So, 7-4 for Nass. So far, the only North American to take more than a game off of him. Ooh, nice flick. I think it was Wavy. Wavy took 2. And of course, before he was in North America, Daniel took a bunch. Chronic still within striking distance for the minute 15. Not a good kickoff for him, though, if he wants to try and bring this back. Nass is going to dribble away from Chronic and get the reset to bring it back, but still not enough. Nass specifically took the ball far away from the net to make sure Chronic missed, and he was hoping that he could just figure out a way to score it afterwards. And even though he didn't, he's able to maintain possession. And he scores again, this time off the ceiling. Takes the ball to the ground, forces Chronic to transition from the back wall to the ground, where he's not going to be able to react as quickly, and then pops the ball up over the top of him. Nass, another kickoff win. I mean, you just can't make comebacks like this if you're Chronic. You need to have kickoffs in your favor, and Nass is just too good. He saw the early challenge coming, and Chronic takes 3 attempts to type next, as he was not able to intercept here. And he's going to need the reverse sweep if he wants to take Nass down. Game 4. Nass has looked like a menace on the 1v1 field. Will he continue to do so? Really goes to show how well the two players who have been able to beat Nass must play, or how their playstyles must match up against the guy who seems to counter everybody. Seems to have the answer for everybody in ones, with the exception of Diaz and Daniel. He's going to give himself a what a save. Or maybe he's giving Chronic what a save. Really, I shouldn't say that. He's definitely giving Chronic what a save, because Chronic made a masterful save off the inside of his net. Nass chased away from an easy goal here. Wanted to be able to follow up that shot, but he would have to slow down and get himself demoed if he did. So Chronic right to chase him down, prevent him from getting that angle. Now Chronic wants to bait him into a mistake on low boost. Doesn't have to do so. Chronic to the ceiling to intercept this dribble from Nass, and does so perfectly. Actually seemed like he had a dash immediately since he fell off the ceiling, but it's still Nass possession. Nass has done such a good job of maintaining possession after shot attempts. Chronic's going to have to make this work with 33 boost. He likes to go for the ground. A 50, a side flip is going to be saved, but he forced Nass into the crossbar. Neither one of them, I think, got that 100 boost yet. Hadn't spawned yet, so Nass will get it now as Chronic sends this one to ceiling heights. Not the cleanest of catches, but Nass has insisted on playing passively, so he doesn't have to worry about ball getting taken right away. Chronic going to take one to the ground again. Nass, he wants the psycho, not going to get it. Another reset and another wall to air dribble for Chronic. Nass falling from the ceiling this time. You can tell basically unplugged his controller as he fell down. Car had no movement at all. Chronic just barely missed the double, and now he's scored on his own net, essentially. I wonder if there's a way he could have rotated his car. Did he feel like he had it? Because he kept his car pretty flat, you know, in a way that wouldn't possibly... It'd be given the smallest hitbox if he did want to try and double it. Maybe he just felt he was so far off that it actually didn't matter. He could just prep for recovering. Just trying to theorize why he wouldn't go down for it. Chronic has this save in a tie game. Every time Nass has had the lead, he has been able to hold it and finish with it seems. And this time, it takes him just a little bit under the first half of the match to get his first lead, but he gets it all the same. He is in such perfect control of the ball. And every time he seems to have a boost advantage, he converts on it. And this is just a nightmare. I mean, you can't beat Nass at the midfield. He's tough enough there. And if you're not going to be at least going neutral on the kickoffs, you're in for a really rough time. Chronic down 3-1. Going to have to work out of a tough position again, as Nass will easily steal his boost. A little wave dash bump on Nass. Doesn't matter. Nass, he instantly recovers off of this bump. And it seemed like he was never taken out of the play at all. 4-1. Ball to air dribble for Nass. No, not the setup he wanted. Not the first touch. So he fakes it here to take Chronic off his defensive cadence. And will it work out? It will. Eventually it'll be a goal. Chronic dancing around a little bit as he got sent over the top of the ball, and then he had to panic. Was in deep trouble. Panic flips without making contact. Nass. Pinch over to the side wall. Chronic basically needs to score here with the way the series has been going, and he did. So that one keeps him alive, I would say. Chronic on the verge of being out of it. He needed to show that he still had some offense left in him, and he does. Now, does he have 3 goals in 2 minutes? Chronic, great kickoff. He will slow play it into the flick. Top shelf. It's enough power that Nass can't do anything about it. So a kickoff in his favor. Another humongous factor that he's going to need. And a delayed kickoff from Chronic, and that is very unfortunate. A mix-up from Chronic in his attempt to stay one step ahead. And Nass, oh, he single jumped. Interesting. I mean, he saw it coming. Maybe he was trying to wave dash, touch it. You know, a super delay wave dash kickoff just didn't work out. Nass maybe read it, forced it over the top of him. Jumping high. 6-3, Chronic denied a 4th goal, as Nass will give him a couple love taps to push him out of the way. Chronic doesn't have the luxury of huge, long-winded setups. So right now, trying to get control of the ball. You know, maybe in those situations you see a player go all the way to their own back wall, start the possession again. You can do that when you don't need 3 goals in a minute. But Chronic needs 3 goals in a minute. So he has looked to keep this ball in the blue half this whole time. Nass will get a little wall pinch to finally get it to escape. And now he's going to try and just hold on to possession as long as possible, I imagine, because every passing second favors him. But he did end up giving the ball to Chronic, whose double reset gets saved. And he maybe needed to score that there. Nass doesn't need to touch this ball. You can just bait Chronic in, and that's exactly what he does. Low 50. And he'll tap this out to the midfield. But I don't expect him to be very aggressive here. He's just going to stay playing slow, force Chronic to make a challenge, which is what Chronic did there, and then outplay him. He's forcing Chronic to make less than ideal challenges, ones that otherwise Chronic never would. And yeah, he's just going to give an okay, well played. Nass just played the series too well, and he played his lead amazing. Every time he had a lead, he played it perfectly. And I know Nass knows that he's got 31 seconds to pogo if he wants. I think I took away one of his chances, and he messaged me afterwards. And he said, hey, man, what the heck? I thought I was going to get to pogo with the last 30 seconds. And so I'm glad to give him a chance now. What does he have in store for us? Oh, that's clean. I mean, that's buttery. That's buttery. I guess you could ask for a little bit of a stronger flick to end. But thanks for playing. I'll just type to nobody. Why not? Thanks for playing, Nass. GG's. A sweep for Nass on Chronic. And basically, Wavy is who's given him the best match since he's been here. Wavy got 2 in a best of 5. Other than that, Nass seems to own NA. And of course, he played Daniel cross servers and lost 4-1. And Diaz is South American. So there's a couple, asterisks we have to give, but you get it.